Welcome back to This Week in Indies. It's one thing to say that an artist should learn to deal with bad reviews and develop a thick skin. It's another entirely, though, to be hunted and harassed. Unfortunately, it's happening way too often. So with today's roundtable, we're going to talk about the cause and effects of the perils of being an artist. Then C.L. Cannon will be along with another great indie connection with books similar to that of Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson. And in the final 5 minutes, Heather Lang, who wrote under J.R. Gansky and Heather Fleshman, will share with you an opportunity to get some help that you need as an artist. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, get ready to have an earnest conversation this morning, an important one on top of that, with your host for This Week in Indies, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to This Week in Indies. It's really nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We have a wonderful show for you. It's going to be an interesting show. I don't know which way it's going to go, but wherever it goes, we're here for it. And this is a conversation that we've been talking about having for a while, and you wanted it. I put it out to the audience of what we should talk about, and this was a key talking point for a lot of people, and so I wanted to address it and bring it out there. So I have a wonderful group with me, as you can see right here, to talk exactly about that. So we're gonna be delving into the perils of being an artist and the things that we don't like to talk about, or like that is out there, but it does exist, and it is very, I wouldn't say prominent, but it is out there, and we'll talk a lot about that today. So we'll just go down the line real quickly and get everybody to introduce themselves. So Heather, start us off.
Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Lang, also known as author J.R. Gansky and author Heather Fleischman. I've recently retired from my writing duties, and I'm looking forward to the new great things that are coming this way.
Awesome. Vanessa?
Hey y'all, I'm Vanessa Juta. I am an author of urban fantasy with horrific elements in the Soul Cavern series. The first book is Javaja. You can see it right there behind my weight, like my hand weight right there in front of my book. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, I'm also a freelance fiction editor and various other things that I'm sure will come up as we're talking.
Awesome. Bob?
Hey, I'm Bob Magoo. I'm the author of the Jubal County Saga, which is about a redneck wizard with a crippling meth addiction. Apparently, quality control has gone right out the window because I'm on on this episode. So just happy to be here.
You put yourself here. I have nothing to do with it.
There is no gatekeeping here.
Yeah. Courtney?
Hey guys, I am C.L. Cannon, aka Courtney Cannon. I am the owner of Fiction Atlas Press. I do a lot of things here on GoIndieNow, like the Indie Connection and the monthly marketing tip. We're celebrating today. Actually, makes 6 years since I incorporated Fiction Atlas Press, so that's like our anniversary. Nice. And in the meantime, sometimes in between all that other crap, I get to write fantasy and sci-fi books, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, we're headed on almost 4 or 5 years that we've been doing this together, Courtney.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And just in time. Allegra's here, everybody.
I'm sorry, I had technical difficulties this morning.
No problem at all. We were just introducing ourselves, so you get the honor of doing that right now. So please.
Hi, folks. I'm Allegra Pescatore. I write fantasy and science fiction, mostly featuring disabled protagonists and diverse casts. And I'm excited to be here. A little discombobulated.
No problem. We'll give you a second to get situated as we'll go through the chats here. Carl's here. Anita's here. Vanessa's breaking the fourth wall.
Yes, I
Bob's
do.
breaking the fourth wall. And yes, and if you would like to send us stars, please do so. I do have a bunch of entries already into this drawing. We have been getting stars, so I'm real excited about that. Thank you very much for that. That's very awesome of all of you. And yeah, if you do that, I've got a nice little swag bag that I'll be revealing here pretty soon in the next couple weeks. So yeah, so everybody get on it, and because now's the time if you want to be a part of that. So if you want to get that thing, you got to give me a stars. All right. Or give anybody stars. You don't have to give me stars. You can give anybody stars. Yeah, stars. Yes, it's a Facebook thing, Margaret. So if you're not on Facebook, it's tough to explain, but it's basically just kind of where are we sending stars on Facebook? Yes. Okay. I think I got ahead of Margaret there. We're on a delay, so it makes sense. But anyway, yeah. So you go to Facebook. In the comments section, there's a little button that says "Send stars." You can send the stars, and then yeah, it'll prompt you to go through all that stuff. So, all right. So everybody ready? Take a deep breath. All right. Let's yes, that. So let's start by kind of, I don't know. I want to get deep into it. I want to get, maybe get the darkness out of the way first. I don't know, or maybe we'll just ease into it. I don't know how everybody else feels about this, but I kind of want to look at. Let's start with some signs of that you are in danger. What are some things that you can give people to notice right off the bat that would say that, hey, look, you've got you got something going on, and you need to handle it or be aware of it or be careful of it, kind of idea. What are some things you all noticed or that you know of from other people who have had experiences that people should be aware of?
I think everybody needs to, just to start out with, to use basic internet safety. Like, because our names are out there already, we are out there. We are looking to be out there. We have to be especially aware of what we put on the internet, because there are a lot of crazy people out there, and not just legitimately crazy people, but also people who are dangerous. And, there are certain things like, for example, if I had children, I would not be putting pictures of my children on the internet, period. That's it, and one thing you also have to remember, especially those of us who are female presenting, particularly, because sometimes we are targets just because of that. Keep in mind that if you are writing under your legal name, if you own property, someone can find your house like that. And so, like, basic internet precautions are important, but then as authors, creators, people who are actively putting ourselves out there, we have to then also heighten that, right? So we need to think about, okay, if I'm posting a picture, have I stripped the metadata out? If you don't know how to do that, you need to look up how to do that and figure it out for yourself, because you don't want somebody just showing up. If they know that you go and have coffee, you've posted pictures of you having coffee every Tuesday morning while you're working at a random, what you think is like a random coffee house, and you haven't stripped that data out of your image, they can show up and find you. And I'm not trying to like freak anybody out, but I was on Quora, of all places, Quora, like years ago, and I had just started. I thought, oh, I'll share my writing or publishing expertise or whatever. And So I was literally only answering questions about writing, about publishing, the publishing industry, and that kind of thing. Nothing controversial. Some guy shows up and he is like a never Trumper, but like basically the MAGA version of not Trump. And for some reason, I don't know, got the impression, I don't know what his problem was, but he zeroed in on me. He followed me on Quora. He went to my website. He sent me emails through my website. He found me on Facebook. He found me everywhere. I literally did not do anything. He had sent me a private message on Quora saying something about veterans or something. And I was like, thank you for your service. And, appreciate that, blah, 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 whatever. And he just went off the rails and then followed me everywhere. So like, you have to be really aware of what you're putting out there and what you're putting out there that you don't realize you're putting out there. Like things like metadata in your images and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if I answered whatever question.
I completely agree with you. Something that I would like to throw out there is on top of, protecting your data and protecting your identity, you need to protect yourself and your soul and your personal interests, because they're going to attack your books. They're going to attack your personality. They're going to attack, your word usage. Your whole existence is now open to be this giant target. And if you're an insufferable people pleaser like I was when I first started, everything is going to hurt. Everything is going to break you down, and you're going to lose that sense of self. And that's going to leave you open to so much more that can just make what we do that much harder.
I'll say I come at this slightly different because those who've met several of the panelists on here have met me in person. I cut an intimidating figure. I'm a huge teddy bear for anyone who's met me, but I look scary, and so I don't. I'm not as at risk for a lot of the issues that female presenting writers are at, or at least not to the same degree. I'm not constantly being harassed just for the nature of being a woman. But I will say I have had a stalker, got a job where I worked and threatened to kill me repeatedly. And my caution there is I connected with this person because they were a writer. They told me they were a writer and they wanted, we wanted to talk about writing stuff. And what I would say is not always, but a lot of the times, trust your gut. Like the red flags are there. And I know we always try to be, writers are just so helpful to each other. We're always like, oh, hey, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about your stuff, even when, we don't have the headspace to do it. And this person, they wrote some really dark and twisted stuff, and that was very uncomfortable. But, I was young and dumb, and I was like, oh, well, surely this won't end badly. A few months later, have to go to my manager and say, hey, that woman you just hired, no big deal, but she threatened to kill me last night. So, so it gets a little sketchy sometimes.
Natasha agrees with you, Heather.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's also, I think that the other panelists have said a lot about like personal safety and emotional safety better than I could. There's also another level of safety of your reputation. We are in an era where accountability is real, and online creators especially are can have their whole careers ruined by one misstep. Now, some of those are genuine like moments where you see a problematic thing and suddenly you're like, oh, this person actually is problematic. We just didn't see it until now. But some people can get hounded for a mistake, a slip of the tongue, something that they even apologize for instantly. And I do think that that is something that as content creators, we do need to be aware of, that we have a responsibility to do our homework, to put in some extra work to make sure that the content we put out there is actually representative of us and our viewpoints, and that we are not talking or thinking carelessly in a way that could harm people and could and then could harm us as well. Potentially a problem.
Anita says that even doing an interview show can get you targeted. I was harassed by stalkers of an author I interviewed. So, which is something that you and Vanessa, you and Rebecca talked about a little bit on your podcast, on your show. Geez, I called it a podcast. I can't even.
Conversation and a cocktail.
Yeah, conversation cocktail. You talked about it on your show a little bit about how toxic the fan bases that she writes in can be, and worrying about when she puts stuff out there, if they're going to come and attack people. Courtney, did you want to jump in?
I think they've all pretty much said all the ideas that I had. Definitely don't post your routine on the internet because people are crazy. Make sure that you're getting your metadata. I need to do more of that. Getting your metadata out of your pictures, and of course, watch what you say, and don't be afraid to say things. Sometimes people think that they can't say things because they're authors, but I think it's important to stand up for what you believe in, and just be careful about that. I've had people harass me for political things that I've said that will, they will like Vanessa, they will stalk you across multiple platforms and, say mean, hateful things to you. They've said things about my kids. They've said, things about me personally. And there's some really nasty people out there that you need to protect yourself from.
I don't know any author that hasn't had some level of harassment, not because they were you can get on the internet and you can scream at people, right? And I expect if I am on the internet screaming at people, that people are going to scream back at me. I expect that. I don't do that anymore because, oh my God, I don't have energy for that. But, people will do that anyway. I don't know any authors who have not had an issue, maybe not, to the extent of Bob, where they got a job where they work, but I don't know any authors that haven't had someone at some point just do things that are inappropriate just because, just to scare someone or hurt them or freak them out.
Or because they misinterpret the parasocial relationship between creator and audience, and just because they feel very close to you and your work, they think that they can approach you as a friend instead of a stranger. And sometimes it's very well intentioned. It's not even no, they're not even thinking, wow, this is inappropriate. But as a reader, I know I've connected to work and I felt like I was reading something my best friend wrote. Or YouTubers that I watch their videos instantly and I know all their quirks and I know their pet names. But that level of comfort and parasocial relationship, we have to keep in mind that there's emotion and then there's actual boundaries, and making sure to maintain those boundaries with the people, with your audience, and say, express what is appropriate and what isn't, and understand that it's really hard and it's really emotional for a lot of people to interact with your work. The balance between what isn't appropriate is something that every single creator has to set for themselves and set for their fan base.
Yeah, and it's really hard to not be emotional and invested in what we're writing. So we want them to have that sort of emotional connection to it, but we also want to have a distance between us and them that is going to be safe for everybody involved.
And Margaret mentioned that just insane how different the experience is for men and women on the internet.
Yep.
You're muted, Bob.
And people not on the gender binary, right?
Yeah.
People who are non-binary or gender fluid. They tend to get the kind of harassment that women get. Different, but they get
still brutal.
The levels that women get versus men.
Yeah, I'll readily acknowledge my privilege here, because so many of the things that I hear other authors talk about, because the majority of people that I'm around tend to be female authors, and they have just so many more concerns than me. I mean, now granted, I'm kind of an idiot, so these are things I should be concerned about. But because these are, this is not the thing that I live with. I don't walk down the street and get catcalled. That's just not my lived experience. Which is shocking, really. But
I'm shocked.
and so just by being
Especially
a
given the
guy.
amount of times that you were walking around without a shirt on, Bob.
I know.
Look, sleeves are for rich people. And so no, but like it's so different for me on the internet than I know than probably every woman that's on this panel right now and anyone who's watching. Like I don't engage in spaces worry that I'm going to get penises sent to my inbox. Like that's not my experience. So I don't think about a lot of the more safety issues, and I'm probably going to wind up dead in a gutter because of it. But it's just one of those things that because I don't live it in my daily life, I don't think about it as much in my internet life.
Yes, I'm with you on that, Bob. It's why I've kind of not wanted to do this topic when I'm hosting. I was kind of hoping it'd come up another time, but I'm here, so I'm going to, lead this conversation because I think it's very important anyway to talk
It
about.
is important because, I've personally experienced a horror story that, I was hoping that I could share with everybody today so that, you could understand what one little thing can do to change everything.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
All
if
right.
you want, if you'd like to,
All right, guys. I started as part of an anthology that I have never promoted. I have never endorsed. This is the first book that was released. When we released it, we each had our own sections of books, that we were writing, and we released it. So we all had our own stories in an anthology. Well, due to the way that it was marketed, nobody understood that this particular anthology was several authors telling stories in the same universe. So one review came in saying that it was very difficult to read, they hated it, and they were not going to buy the next one or something to that effect. So this led all of us to get back together, and the second book that was released became each of us getting a section of the school year, and at the end, the final author in the series gets to write the ending of the book. And for me, this ended so horribly that everything I had planned, I could no longer write for the next book in the series. And this is actually what got me to quit writing, because one bad review ruined all of our plans to make a beautiful anthology. And it changed the dimension of how we interacted with each other, because that single review was more important than the project that we had started off planning. And for me, I'm not even looking forward to, getting together with everybody else and writing out the end of this anthology, because it changed so much that I still have so much animosity towards this one bad review that I won't even say my names are in this. I hate that it's attached on Amazon, and dealing with something like that is very hard.
Kind of touching on that, this was some advice that was given to me. I started, I was in therapy around the time I started serious self-publishing. And I told my therapist, like, I'm worried I'm going to get a bad review and just have it come apart. I'm not going to handle it well. And what she told me was reviews have nothing to do with you. At the end of the day, they really have nothing to do with you. You just happen to be the outlet for whatever is going on in that person's life. You just happen to be the outlet for them to vent their day, essentially. Bad reviews have nothing to do with you. They have nothing to do with your book. It has everything to do with the person leaving it. And that's really helped me. I haven't had any just like mind blowingly hateful reviews, but I have had some. They're like, this was not good, and I've just been able to like, okay, that sucks, but it says more about them than it does about me, and that's what keeps me in the headspace that allows me to be an author. Because otherwise, that first negative review would have come in, and I would have just had to come apart and quit. Like that. That's what works.
Yeah,
for me.
and it's very important to share this story so that people understand that you don't have to let it change your life, because it stopped everything for me for years. The rest of the authors involved have lost their interest in the project, and it all started with taking one review personally.
And I have to
Yeah.
imagine there was probably a blame game going around in that aspect of it with multiple people in collaboration, which that really just that stinks because that's probably was unnecessary.
And there's
Absolutely.
also a level of danger, I think, in review spaces, especially about being, as authors, we are told write what you know. And a lot of people with marginalized identities write those identities into our books. And there are hateful people who, have the isms, sexism, racism, ableism, you name it, who will come into review spaces and trash you, not because of the quality of your writing, not because of the quality of your book. Reviewers are perfectly entitled to love or hate your book as they wish. But because of the identity of characters or your identity, and that can be really dangerous and like emotionally impactful for authors who are already part of minorities and are already fighting uphill to be heard, to have that be the thing that reviewers go after. I know that I've had several reviews that are very, very critical of my disability representation, not because the person felt like it was bad disability representation, but because they felt like disabled people didn't have a place in books. And aren't interesting and shouldn't exist. And as a disabled author writing about disability, like the reviews that say I don't like your book, they don't faze me. I have thick skin. Reviews saying your identity isn't valuable and should not be included, shouldn't be there, makes me terrified that they think that I shouldn't be there.
Yeah. I think that has such a huge emotional impact on people. The idea that your identity shouldn't exist, like, I don't understand. I'm a bit of a soft heart. I'm not gonna lie. I was the kid who saved birds that fell from the trees, and Mom, a cat followed me home. Yeah, that was totally me. So I don't understand people who feel like they have a right to say that someone else should not exist. That is beyond my ken. That is beyond anything I understand. And so I have parts of me that are marginalized, but I have parts of me that are privileged. Like, I'm a white woman, middle-aged white woman. Looking at me, you wouldn't think there's anything marginalized about. Everything you can't see about me is marginalized. So what I try to do, and I have to balance this with the safety issue, is I try to use my privilege and my voice to try to help lift up those who do not have that, right? Or to make the space and let them have the space, that I can carve out with my privilege, because no one should ever, ever, ever feel like they should not exist. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just a little emotional. I've had a very busy week. So, and
Yeah,
No, you're absolutely right.
exactly.
You're absolutely right.
Don't understand it.
I mean, this week has been insane with all of that, and there's a lot going on, and it's just like, I just didn't. I'm with you. I couldn't get it. It's like, I mean, that
It's
level of hate
frustrating.
So
is.
I have a question for those who, this would be for you, Allegra, if you feel like answering, and for any of us who have had issues with people sort of attacking in whatever way. Like, what kind of steps do you take internally and externally to protect yourself, or to, do something if you feel like you need to do something about the person? Like, what kinds of steps have you taken? I know, Bob, you said you went to your boss and was like, so she said she was going to kill me. So, like,
Yeah.
what does everybody have to suggest?
Well,
For me,
oh, go ahead.
For me, I
Oh.
started putting things as like in the about me sections. This is not for everybody. This is not in the opening of my book. These people are not based on real people. This is a work of fiction. This is a work of fantasy. And I started putting, like these little warning labels on stuff, because I got sick of people approaching me going, this is horrible. You put me in your book. You did this, you did that. And I'm like, dude, I write for a living. Get off my ass. Because that's all it was, is I needed to start. The more entitled people felt, like the more opinions that they could give, I had to start, being proactive in my pushing back against that.
I have a very, I have a lot of emotion around this topic, because my family has intimately known persecution and violence. I'm Jewish. My great-grandparents were killed in the Holocaust. My family was involved in the shooting at the Tree of Life here just a couple of years ago for being Jewish. And I'm disabled. And I make no secret about being a disabled woman. I make no secret about being Jewish. And I've seen deadly persecution within my family in every single generation that has lived because of this. And it is terrifying to put my identities out on the internet for everyone to see. I feel very strongly about doing it, because I feel like we have a place in fiction, and that for those who never see themselves represented, or see themselves represented so little, what I can do to them is tell them, you are not alone and you belong in this space. And that is important enough to risk my own safety to do. But I am aware that people know that I'm disabled. If someone wanted to hurt me, they know that I can't run. Like, that I am, and that I know that violence does happen and has happened intimately to those I love. And so when I see a really nasty review, or someone getting really vitriolic around, any marginalized identity, it hits like a battering ram. It's, it's a fear response instantly. There's a level of irrational terror that comes with it. And, I've done a lot of work internally and externally to make sure that doesn't happen. Part of it is I'm very vocal about these things. When I do, like, I never speak out against negative reviews, but if I have a review, or if I have a reader who approaches me privately who's really nasty about one of my identities, I try to turn it into a teaching moment. I don't name names, I don't do any of that, but I do try to speak on the subjects and try to raise awareness. And internally, I've had to build up thick skin, because it's the only way I'm going to get through life. It's not like my identities are going away anytime soon. Every time I'm out of my wheelchair, people know. Every time I walk around with my service dog, people ask me what's wrong with you. And so it like, I'm lucky that I do have a thick skin, but even through it hurts. And I know that the pressure of that might cause other people in my position to back away, to not write, to not publish, to not include that, their identity in their work, just because they are scared of the backlash. And I hate that is the world we live in, and that even though it is improving, there is still a very real, very legitimate, actual danger to marginalized creators.
Yeah, I can't. I was essentially born on second base. Like I have every privilege in the world. I'm a white, healthy guy born in Alabama, which is if name a state that is more designed to benefit white guys. I challenge you. Maybe Mississippi.
Maybe.
Um, and so I can't really speak to I just don't deal with hate on any kind of that level in my life. And so, but what I do try and uh, speak to people around me, just being on the internet, is what I tell people is like the internet's not real. For the most part, yeah, like obviously, like hate that's coming in, that's unconscionable. And I don't know how I would deal with that because I've never had to experience that. But I will say, like, just the negativity that's on the internet. One of my other things that I do is I host a podcast about books, and we talk about authors that have been canceled fairly frequently on there. And I've done some research on a lot of these authors that have been canceled, and you look 5 years later, they're selling just as many books as ever, because the internet's not real. Um, we pay so much closer attention to book news, what's going on in the industry, because we're authors. So to us, it's like, oh, of course everyone knows that this author did this terrible thing. No, they don't. 90% of your readers have no idea that this person did anything awful. They just don't know. And so the people that are actively in these spaces that are being hateful, they're not real. I mean, they are, but just as much as you can, you just gotta. That's why I tell myself these people aren't real. If I met them in person, they would not be saying these things. Um,
But I think
it's not real.
but I think there's a problem with that too, because there's privilege in having
Yeah,
that attitude, because the problem is that yes, some of them are not real, but some of them are, and you
yeah,
don't know
no,
the difference. You can't
right,
tell,
right, right, right.
you
No,
know.
that's why I say like when it rises to the level of hate, that's a totally different
Mhm.
issue.
Yeah.
I'm only just trying to address like just someone in your Facebook group left a kind of a negative comment. Like I know people who that just ruins their day, their week, their month,
Mhm.
or even their whole year. And so I just try and tell people it's like if you just start as much as you can treating the internet as though these people aren't real, that it's just bots in a machine somewhere. Because at the end of like your mental health is so important, and the internet is so toxic. There's no non-toxic space on the internet, really. I mean, if you dig deep enough, every place is toxic. And so because the anonymity allows people the toxicity, and so you got to find the things that work for you to to keep your mental health. And for me, what I've had to do is the internet's not real. It's just not real. These people aren't real. If I meet these people in real person, they'd be better. And so that's what allows me to keep a little bit of my sanity, um, the little bit that Alabama hasn't stolen from me. Um, so, yeah. But again, cannot state this, any more clearly. Was born on second base and hit a home run. Like it's not that much of achievement to be able to do this kind of stuff when you have the kind of privileges. So yeah, that's my advice for folks that it's not rising to hate. If it's just a low level, man, these people are getting on my nerves. They're not real.
I guess I'll speak a little bit about it. I have, I guess, what you call like invisible illnesses. Most people don't know unless I talk about the things that I have. I have ankylosing spondylitis. I've got really severe scoliosis, like 56 degrees and 54 degrees. So my back's like, but people have that do know that have even people in my family have I've been called a cripple. I've been called lazy for not having good pain days, and like people that have seen my x-rays have said that, but then there's also people on the internet that have been like that to me. And the when it's on the internet, I want to say the best thing to do is just to ban them from everything that you have. Don't let them even see anything that you have. And I also like to try to, like Allegra, try to educate people on, important things about people with disabilities and people who are just different from the normal, the what is accepted as the normal white male, privilege thing. I want everybody to know that it's okay to be different and to kind of show what strengths we have. We all have different strengths, and to celebrate what we can do and not focus so much on the limitations that we have.
I love that.
The best revenge is just living a good life.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Button is your friend. I had to do that with my Quora guy. I literally blocked his IP on my website so he couldn't actually, it's just the easiest, least stressful.
So, as like with Bob, I'm pretty much, I don't know, second base, probably more like third base I was born on. But, I'm curious from everybody to know, because I have friends who have dealt with this, and it just drills me to the core, and I feel helpless a lot of times. I have a lot of anxiety toward other people, and I want to use my privilege in a way that can help everybody get through this and deal with this. And sometimes I just don't know. I don't have the answer, right? And it's that's when I get hurt the most. That's when it's really tough for me. And that's 1,000 times, a million times away from what everybody else is dealing with and what is real. But I'm curious what advice you all would give to those who do have privilege that you are talking to and affecting. What is the best way for me to help you get through what you're doing? What's going on with everything.
It is so crazy to hear your side of it, Joe.
Mhm.
I never really thought about how, somebody could feel so helpless in this situation, because you've pretty much been around my entire writing career. You have been the one constant in my life and the one main support where I knew I could always get back to GoIndieNow. It
Mhm.
didn't matter what I was doing in my life. I had this support system. I had this network. I had this constant. And for me, that was all the support I needed to keep going. So you've already done so much for so many people that to hear that you feel helpless really makes me want to cry.
Well, I don't want you to specifically talk about me. I'm more
I
in a
know, but
generalized idea, but I appreciate that. Thank you, Heather.
yeah.
That means a lot.
And I think that the network and the grouping and the things that we do is something that other authors should know about, because you're not alone in this. We're all going through it together.
I think one thing that is really important is uplifting, minority voices and voices that don't have the privilege you do, and like sharing their posts and sending people towards the content they create. And just making space for them if there's someone who is being particularly toxic and needs to be confronted, offer to do the confronting so that the person who is being targeted doesn't have to fight their own battles while they might be having a panic attack. Basically, I like to think of it as being a shield wall and getting orders from the back.
I would also say check on your friends. Check on,
Yeah.
especially right now where minorities of all stripes are being attacked. Their anti-Semitism is running rampant in the US. I mean, racism against Black people has always been there, right? And so, but it's getting worse, right? And it's, and LGBTQ folks are on fire right now. So check with your friends, just check with them. how are you doing? I know the world is insane right now. How are you doing? Can I do anything for you? You know, or if you know a friend, like a friend is dealing with, no, you're right. It's not just in the US, but that's where I live. And so that's what I'm most familiar with. But yes, you're right. It's not just in the US. But like, if there's something, like if you know that a friend is struggling, like Allegra said, be their shield wall, but ask them, what can I do for you? What would help you? You know, do you just need an ear? Do you need me to jump in? Because you also don't want to jump in and fight someone's battle if they don't want you to do that. Right?
Absolutely.
So just ask, like ask. You will never go wrong asking. They may not have an answer, and that's okay. But like, just when I'm struggling with whatever, like some of y'all know that tornadoes came through and dropped trees on my house in January after having had a tree dropped on my house in 2020. So like, just friends who reached out and said, holy shit, what do you need? Can I bring you some food? And I'm like, oh my God, no, that's too stressful, because then I have to coordinate people coming to my house. And, you know, so, you know, it was like, can I buy you some DoorDash gift cards? Yes, you can do that. You know what I mean? So like, but having them reach out to me so I don't have to ask for something is so huge, because it tells me that I can rely on them, that they're there for me when no one else is looking, right? When it's not something that makes them look good, you know, and not to say that, you know, my friends are like, you know, do that, you know, for the photo op, but like, it reinforces that, and it makes me feel cared for. So that would be my suggestion. If you are not, you know, if you have the ability to help someone else because you have more privilege or whatever, ask them, reach out to them, and check on them.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I agree with what Vanessa and everybody said, and it's so much more respectful to ask them than to just jump in and be their savior. So
I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten in trouble for the savior syndrome. Some people just don't want to be saved. And, you know, you have to be able to know the difference, and you have to be able to say, you know, what can I do that's going to make you better? Not, here's my answer and I'm going to slap everybody with it.
Yeah. I think that's really common, especially often, I'm not going to say especially, but often when men are trying to help women, it's really to make them feel good. It's to make them feel like they've done some, you know, I'm such a good man, I have helped this woman. And it's just like, really, I really just wanted you to get out of my way, you know? So it can very often center the situation on the person who is not, you know, who is trying to help, rather than keeping the center on the person who needs the help, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this is something that my wife has had to bludgeon into me. I'm the son of an engineer, so I was conditioned, you know, problem solver. Like, if there's a problem, you solve it, and just learning that, hey, sometimes people just want to vent. You know, not everyone's looking for a solution, and so I'm not going to say I've nipped that problem in the bud, but it's just something that, you know, you're not aware of your own conditioning until someone points it out. So if someone points out your conditioning, listen. You know. So I've had to listen.
Carl points out in the UK, the food banks are overwhelmed with people calling there for help. Food prices in the UK have doubled and doubled again. So. All right. So I think we all need to take a deep breath, relax. And luckily for us, there's just no easy way to do this transition today. So, and I'm not going to put Courtney on a spot, even though I always do when she's here, because she's breaking the fifth wall and the seventh wall, and dimensionally, and dimensionally and crazily, where she's here, but she's going to be here, and all of that. So here's the Indie Connection this week, and then we'll be back. And I promise I have something to lighten it up a little bit for everybody. But we'll talk about that on the other side. So enjoy the Indie Connection, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Let's try that again. Take two. All right. This will go on the blooper reel. This is in a couple weeks. All right. Here we go.
Hey guys, C.L. Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. Today I'd like to tell you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. The first book I have for you is called The Aldrich Experiment by Patrick Barnes. Can we create a society with no depression? In 2328, they call it the Aldrich Experiment. Bracelet shocks, mind-altering dreams, serotonin boosts. This is Aldrich. Pierre is the only 17-year-old in Brighton, England, who has never been shocked by his bracelet. When he wakes up in his hospital bed with no memory of why, his past is a mystery and his future is out of control. He'll find the help of a girl whose eyes are etched in his mind, along with a man in a Harley-Davidson leather jacket who wants to keep her away from him. They are both gamblers, a rogue group that lives among them. After the head of security kills Pierre's therapist, Pierre is thrust into being an outlaw. Pierre has always hated gamblers, but he may have to accept that Aldrich is not the paradise he always assumed it was. There's a darker side to Aldrich, and Pierre will have to fight for his freedom, because Pierre has a big secret, one even he doesn't know. The second book I have for you is called Aura by R.J. Wade. In a world where your thoughts don't belong to you, the person who controls minds will rule everything. Welcome to the society. She was nothing, no one. Just one more starving teen on the outskirts of the society, the high-tech city where the elites rule in luxury under the ever-watchful eye of the tyrannical President Wolf. But when Aura's mother is arrested for crimes against the society, and Aura herself attacked while trying to flee, she discovers that she is one of the gifted, people with psychic powers strong enough to shift the flow of history, to change the world around them, even to overthrow the perfect dystopia of the society. Now Aura is on the run, branded the society's most dangerous threat, and aided only by an exiled scientist. Aura must hone her skills and try to stay one step ahead of the government's kill squads, all the while trying to figure out how to save her family and survive in a world bent on her destruction. An impossible task, and about to get even harder. Because now her mother has been imprisoned in Wolf's personal palace, and the only way to get her out is to be captured herself, escape a place no one has ever returned from, and overthrow the most powerful government in history along the way. The third book I have for you is called Hypercage by Craig Leah Gordon. There's no escape from the hypercage. Dave is a virtual reality gaming addict, willing to risk everything to keep the thrill alive. But how far will the hypercage take him? His addiction has taken his family to breaking point, and now he must choose. Can he give up the one thing that allows him to escape the mundane? To belong? To become something greater? When he meets the gaming girl of his dreams, she offers him the chance of a lifetime. But will he get what he always wanted, or end up paying the ultimate price? And the last book I have for you is called Last Life Level 1 by Zach Lester. Is it just a game, or a battle for survival? When an elite group of gamers all receive the same cryptic invite to join a secret tournament, they will discover there is more at stake than just bragging rights. Being kept in an unknown location and forced to take part in a series of games, these gamers must rely on their wits and the skills honed from hours of gameplay to not be eliminated from the competition, and maybe life itself. With the programmers raising the stakes at every turn, will the characters outwit those who are observing their every move, or will it be game over with no hope for a respawn? Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye!
And as always, we are super grateful to CL Cannon for doing all of that for us and bringing those wonderful books to light. Man, those covers were amazing this week. Oh my God. I'm not one that typically picks up a book or buys a book based on the cover, because I want to know what the substance is, but a couple of those I would just have gotten if I'd seen the cover, because I at least picked them up off the shelf, because those were amazing. That's crazy. The Aura book, that is incredible cover. crap, I can't imagine
Absolutely.
the amount of time it took to put that together. I mean, even if it's just, taking different pictures and layering it, that's a lot of work. People don't realize.
Mhm.
As somebody who's hates doing graphics and has to do that, I realize how much. Oh my god, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
but crazy. And the font on that too. Natasha says too many people are keyboard warriors, but the whole world is changing. It's still changing each day. No matter what we do as professionals, we have to protect us and our own. And Vanessa mentions that all the walls are coming down. And yeah, I wanted to touch upon a little bit of what Natasha said up there, and what Bob was talking about earlier about how the internet's not real. A lot of people aren't real. I thought we could lighten it up a little bit with this conversation because there is a aspect of the perils of being an artist that we all kind of just cringe at and kind of go, it's kind of like being in a nest of gnats or flies, and that is our favorite thing, the troll or the bot. I mean, the amount of times that I was on Twitch, and Vanessa, you probably can speak to this a lot, and getting those hey everybody, go see my sex site for go click on this link, and and it's just like after a while, and like I don't even look at my friend requests on Instagram anymore. I just go, none of these are gonna be real. I can just see the name and I know already. It's whatever. Go ahead, follow me. Hey, bots, if you want to follow me, please, by all means, add to my numbers. Follow me. I'm never following you back, but please follow me. And yeah, Anita says it perfectly. Those dumb porn bots. So, I mean, what are some of the ones we've seen out there? What are some of the fun ones that we've seen that we're just like, I can't believe that someone actually go to the trouble to do this. It's so stupid.
I have
Sorry, I was literally just asking my friend group about this, like author friends. Like this week, every day I have had someone message me acting as though they're interested in my books. Like, oh man, I was just checking out your books and these are great. Like, I really love that. And like, sometimes that's legit. So I'm like, oh, well, hey, thanks. I really appreciate that. And they're like, I'm just curious, like, what do you do for marketing? And there it is. I'm up, and down.
Yeah. I have hundreds of people a week offering to come in and do, my SEO and my promotions and my marketing. And I'm like, dude, I did not just spend 5 years in college to have somebody else do it for me. Okay. But the next time my company is hiring, I'll keep you in mind.
DM me at dumbassinc.com. I love those. Those comments on Instagram. Instagram's like full of truth. It's like a nest full of trolls. It's like I wonder if there's ever real people on Instagram anymore.
I just report them. I just report them for spam. I'll just be like, no thanks, not interested, and then I will just report them for spam because I am on the downhill of my life. I am on the latter half of my years on this earth. I ain't got time for these people.
Who's giving these people money? What authors are out there?
I mean, how do they survive?
Not so much for the bots, because the bots you just report and ignore. But whenever I get spam calls and I get a real human on the line for some reason, I use them to practice my improv skills. I come up with some crazy story, pirates, dragons, I'm under attack from an army of undead, and I just see how long I can keep them on the line.
That's awesome.
Every once in a while they break, they start laughing and become a real human being, and I feel like I've helped some poor person in an office cubicle and actually given them something good to do with their day.
That's fantastic.
And then sometimes they hang up on me and I know that I've gotten crazy enough that they've banned me from every list that they have, and then I've won. So
it's an accomplishment.
all else fails, I've practiced my storytelling abilities.
What's so funny? everybody, and I would put it up there, but it's gonna blur. But my phone I just got a message bot on Instagram on my phone, an alert that I just got.
I know, I got him on my Facebook too. Hey, how you doing? I'm so interested by everything that you've been posting lately, and it's the same picture of this military guy. And I'm like, I'm a military family, dude. So
Yes.
you're
And
impersonating a military officer is a criminal offense. So go ahead, send me your email and your phone number and your WhatsApp, because by the time I'm done with you, you're gonna wish you didn't.
they're almost always scammers in India. They're almost always scammers in India.
And I wish they understood English enough to realize just how badly I've been insulting them.
Damn it.
So that's the real growth opportunity. Is really we just need to be pitching ourselves to these Indian companies that will fine tune their pitches for them. We'll write them some good dialogue. That's the real growth market.
No, I am not going to help them scam other people. No.
Adia says I've been tempted to just breathe heavily into the phone, into the spam. I'll tell you something about spam calls. Jerry Seinfeld on Seinfeld taught me something that I've used several times and it's worked. When there was a moment in an episode of Seinfeld when a scammer called him or a telemarketer called him. He goes, "Well, I'm with friends right now. I'm really busy. Let me ask you. Just give me your home number and I'll call you right back and we'll talk about it." And he goes, "Oh, we're not allowed to do that. Oh, so you don't like it when people, you don't like it when people bother you at home, so you don't want to be bothered at home." And then he hangs up on him, and I love that.
Yeah, that sticks with me too.
I play with. I don't pick up phone numbers that I don't know.
Yeah,
that's not a thing. But I get a lot of messages like on Instagram and Discord and stuff and I know they're scammers. I 100% know they're scammers. I will string them along for weeks, like weeks. You know why? Because if they're fucking around with me and wasting their time with me, they are not scamming some poor soul who is going to get caught. So like, I don't mind spending my time on that. I don't mind spending my time on that.
Yeah. I mean, honest to God, like if they're asking me for money, like, oh, you didn't do your research.
I'm an indie author, damn it.
Hi, would you like the 7 cents I made today on books?
I had early on. I was a baby writer. I had someone call me, and I'd gotten into podcasting around the same time, and this person like really got me really excited. Like, hey, look, we'd love to get you on our podcast. I was like, oh my God, they listen to my podcast. Am I blowing up? Am I big time? And then like, oh, you only have to pay like $170 to be on there. And I was like, oh, I'm flattered that you think that my podcast has earned $175 at any point. Flattered, but no, click. No.
You're just never going to let me live that down, Bob, are you?
Oh, man. Yeah, that I get asked that a lot. I actually had someone asking me earlier today. They're like, or yesterday, we had a company coming in, and they're like, "Oh, hey, I got, I got this offer. Like this publisher called me, and they were going to publish me. They only wanted $2,500, and I was like, oh, child. So you're the people who are paying them. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first off, if only $2,500 is only to them.
Oh, but I get to keep 100% of the profits after that.
Yeah.
Oof. But you gotta be nice. These people don't know. They don't know no better.
No.
So you gotta be nice. But oof, he learned a lesson yesterday.
All right, everybody feel good. We breathed it out. We hugged it out. Everybody got
it. Totally plays into the last 5 minutes too, you guys. You're gonna love this.
The paid review scammers are another one. Yeah. That's never pay for unless you've done your research. I mean, I don't know. There might be something legitimate out there. I doubt it, but and never pay for likes, followers, comments, subscribers, none of that. Don't fall for any of that. That's all garbage.
Those are not your readers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Build your own thing organically. I know it takes forever. I understand that.
The difference, the exception is like group promo kind of things, like paying for group promos, because those are targeted and to readers, not just random people on the internet.
And targeted ads and stuff like that, where you're actually paying you're doing your research and doing that. Those are
like paying for ads. It's great when you are approaching a trusted source. The problem is when they're approaching you in a predatory manner because they think that you are how, like, they want to exploit you, not help you.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
There's a huge difference.
The number of people that I have paid over my writing career is limited to one, and she's right there. Right there. Like, pay builders work, but who's not a scammer? Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Yep.
But also, like, if anyone's asking you for money, ask your writer friends first, because they will tell you, like, oh yeah, no, I had great success with this person, or about, oh no, that's totally a scam. So I had great success.
Thank you. If somebody's DMing you, most likely just forget them. If they're trying to get you, then they probably don't have enough people. Actually, they're not successful enough for people to be coming to them, and they're having to like get into your inbox to tell you about everything. That it's a scam almost 100% of the time.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, in the ultimate of ironies, I'm going to ask each of you to share where people can find you. And, if you don't want to share that information, that's fine. But in that respect, I respect that. But this is how the show goes. So, Allegra, why don't you start us off? Tell everybody where they can get your stuff and go and actually buy books, everybody.
Well, of course, everyone knows that my home address is a randomly generated string of numbers and letters. You can find me at author Allegra pretty much anywhere on the social medias. You can find my books on Amazon and Audible. I have a whole bunch of audiobooks coming out here in quick succession, so that's definitely kind of where I'm directing people. I have fabulous narrators, so you should listen to my books instead of read them if that's your thing. But I also run a Discord server that is very friendly to diverse authors and readers of various ilks, especially disabled ones. And you can find that, again, on pretty much all my social media. It has links to it. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here today.
Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, Courtney?
You can find me at this link bio that I can never point to, or at my website, clcannon.net. I am CL Cannon or CL Cannon author on almost everything except for Snapchat, which I will never use. I just came back from a spectacular signing in DC at Imaginarium, and I'm going to be there next year, and hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. And that's it. That's all I've got. Be safe on the internet.
Awesome. All right, Bob?
You can I had to practice pointing to CL repeatedly, like under the desk, to see what would work. Here, salesbybob.com. If you enjoy memes about possums, you can find me at Tales by Bob on a variety of social media. And next weekend, super excited. Going to be my first time at Con Carolinas, and most excitingly, I'm on a panel about cats. So, yeah, come see me talk about my kitties.
And I'll give a little preview of what Bob and I are going to do at Con Carolinas in a little bit. But Vanessa?
Oh, hi. So probably the easiest thing is to look down in the notes of the video and grab my link from there. But I am also going to be at Con Carolinas this upcoming weekend. I am not on the cats panel, although I was, but I asked to be moved to a different panel that I will be more useful on. So definitely check out Bob on that panel, and then come see me on my panels and stuff. So
I was so excited to paddle with you, and then you betrayed me.
Sorry. We'll get over it. It'll be fine. I'll give you a hug.
Hey.
And I'm Joe Compton. You've been welcome to GoIndieNow. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Smash the like button, subscribe, do all those wonderful things that you do, and you do well. And I appreciate all of that comment. That really helps us get this video seen. And I really, I say that every time, but for this one, I really hope that this one gets out there because I think it's a wonderful, earnest conversation. It needed to be had, and I'm glad that we did it. So thank you so much to my panelists and for sharing all of that with us, with the audience, and with me. And thank you all for joining me. I'll have some book news, some movie news for myself very soon. Some things are going on. I'm moving some pieces around, and yes, I also will be at Con Carolinas for my first time there next week as well. And we will be doing This Week in Indies live Sunday. Bob is already committed. Bob, you cannot get out of it now. You're stuck. But Bob is there, and I'm happy to have Vanessa if she's not busy to join us as well. Yeah, we'll be doing it live from the Hilton, and it'll be a really good time. So come and check us out next week for that. And that being said, I've exhausted everything I wanted to say. So we're gonna give it up to Heather for the last 5 minutes, and it's all yours, my friend. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome to the final 5 minutes. Most of you know me as author J.R. Gansky or author Heather Fleischman, but my name is Heather, and I have been in this business since 2007. But as everything, things change. I've recently retired, and I've spent a lot of my time wondering, what am I going to do now? And as part of these, blogs and these posts and these events, I'm coming across all of these authors that, they're struggling with their identity. They're struggling with, how to know right from wrong. They're struggling with generalized questions. And I can't take it anymore. So I am taking Enchantingly Entangled marketing to a whole new level. Not only is the advice going to be free, but I'm going to be there to help you start to finish. I'm going to give you advice on your plot holes. I'm going to give you advice on, your printing, your publishing, your formatting, all of these things, that are just everyday normal questions. And while I'm doing this, you guys can reach out to Enchantingly Entangled Marketing at gmail.com. You can submit your questions. You can submit, your perils. You can submit just anything to me that you think is going to be beneficial to you as an artist. I don't care if you're an author or you do print or you do images or, you just starting out or you've been at it for 15 years. I'm going to be there completely for free to give you guys that support system that's going to help you be the best you that you can be. And to reach out to me, again, just come out to the enchantinglyentangled.com because it's my turn to be there for you. And I wanted to open up that opportunity to everybody here live on GoIndieNow because there's always time to go indie now. And now you got the support system to do it. Thanks.